Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the 2026 competition info session for Artifact. And so delighted to see so many of you joining this evening. Thank you for taking the time. We have some people that are still rolling in, just coming in. So we're all going to get settled. I'd like to just begin with some general housekeeping notes. So everyone is muted. To control our background noise. We'd love to see you if you're in a place where you can turn your camera on. This session is being recorded and we are posting our code of conduct in the chat, and we'd love for you to post a greeting in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. So as everyone continues to roll in, go ahead and post a greeting and get yourself settled, and we can begin with some introductions with the Artifact team. So I'd like to formally introduce myself. I am Tony Guglielmo, Executive Director of Artifact, and I'm joining this evening from Santa Monica, California, where we are located at the Low Milk and Family Foundation. I've been in this role leading Artifact since 2023, so just at the 3-year mark, and have just seen amazing things with Artifact and largely due to the community of students and educators that we have, and many of you participating over the last 3 years and more. So I'd like to just welcome you and let you know that I'm also joined tonight by members of my team, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. First, we have Connor Walden, who's our project manager for Artifact.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Connor Walden. I'm the project manager for Artifact here in Santa Monica, and we're just so excited to share with you all about the 2026 Artifact competition. So thanks so much for being here.
Great. And also Kate Rose, our program coordinator.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Kate. I'll be active on the chat today, so if you have any questions, need anything, I'll be there to help. And yeah, we have a great agenda and lots of speakers tonight, so get excited to learn a lot about the competition.
Great, thank you. And also we have joining on our team, our founder, who's not on the call this evening, but is well aware of everything that Artifact is doing, Mr. Lowell Milken, and really just grateful to Mr. Milken for all of his oversight and vision for helping us to present Artifact as an offering. So let's take a and let's also greet our ambassadors. So I want to shout out to our cohort year 3, our 2025-2026 ambassadors. I see many of you are on the call this evening. That's awesome. Our ambassadors are participating in a year-long online fellowship. We have 28 outstanding educators joining us from 17 states across the United States. And some of you obviously have been participating with us before, but just for those of you who don't know, our Ambassadors Fellowship is an exciting online program where we invite middle and high school educators to participate in online modules, and then our ambassadors will be doing a capstone presentation at the end of the year where they bring this teaching and learning into their classroom. So welcome to all of our ambassadors, and you can see their profiles if you're new, or browse profiles for the ambassadors in the link. So I also wanted to mention, I said this call is being recorded just so that you know you're going to receive the recording, putting lots of information in the chat. As Kate mentioned, you're going to be able to get this PowerPoint that we are showing you and a recording, and all of the resources with links as a follow-up to this session. So don't worry if you don't catch all of the links and everything right now. All right, so let's take a quick look at the agenda. So we're going to begin with a quick overview of Artifact and the competition specifically. Really delighted that tonight we have some previously participating educators and students that are joining us in the program to share about their experiences. And then we're going to go over some competition-specific resources. If you have questions, you can post them in the chat as we move along. We're going to stop periodically to field some of those questions at the end. Hopefully we have more time for Q&A, and then you can always follow up at artifact@lowmilken.org with any other questions that you have. So great, let's begin our program. So I want to begin with an overview of Artifact. And for those of you who are new to joining us this evening, Artifact is an arts education initiative. We are with the Low Milken Family Foundation and the Low Milken Center for Unsung Heroes. We've been running Artifact since 2016. The competition has been running since 2016, but in recent years, Artifact has grown beyond the competition to professional development, the ambassadors program that I've just mentioned, online sessions, and also exhibitions of award-winning student artwork. So these are our offerings, but what Artifact is really focused on is we invite teachers and students to explore stories of unsung heroes from history and creatively interpret those stories through the visual arts. And we're looking specifically at unsung heroes as role models and the lessons, the amazing things that they've done as role models that have changed the course of history. So let's take a closer look at our focus on unsung heroes. So the unsung heroes, as I mentioned, they're role models. We have an expanding list of over 150 individuals that are on this list from the Low Milken Center for Unsung Heroes. And these individuals have demonstrated altruistic character traits and actions such as extraordinary courage, compassion, perseverance, reliability. They have made a positive and profound impact on the course of history that has actually changed the course of history. And we have individuals that span all different domains and all different fields of endeavor. So let's take a closer look at some of these character traits and actions. So this is it's kind of a beginning of a word wheel as you're working with your students to explore the stories of the unsung heroes in your classroom. You may want to add to this, but we've put some beginning traits here that we embed within the various lesson plans. So these are traits such as conscience, courage, creativity, generosity, and then kinds of actions that have been heroic. Building bridges to unite, make a difference, taking risks for others, standing up for your beliefs. So these are the types of actions that we see demonstrated by these individuals in the stories that we explore through Artifact. And all of this, as I mentioned, all fields of endeavor, arts, STEAM subjects, innovation, and then, this is kind of a conceptual drawing. If you like this word wheel, we have a graphic that you can download. And all of this under this umbrella idea that one individual has the power to make a positive and profound difference in the lives of others and to make an impact in the lives of others. And this is our kind of guiding vision for Artifact from our founder, but it speaks to the unsung heroes. But as we're working with Artifact, we are also, you know, supporting students in recognizing that they have that ability, looking at the role models, that they have the ability to affect positive change through their art making and the power of art making. So it's kind of a layered framework there. So let's take a look now. As I mentioned, all the unsung heroes, over 150 different individuals that we have on the list to choose from. And when students are working with Artifact, they will choose an unsung hero from this list of that we provide. It's called our directory, and they want to be drawn to someone that they really admire. For various reasons, and we have all different diverse individuals spanning the centuries, all these fields of endeavor. So it's very choice-based in choosing an individual. They don't have to do a lot of primary research. That's a different competition called the Discovery Award, which is how these stories are brought to light. And so Low Milken Center has a Discovery Award where students actually research and surface these stories. And in Artifact, students are focused more on creating visual arts to creatively interpret these stories. So they don't have to do much research, but they do have to connect and write, what inspired them about this person and the impact that they made on history. So we have a couple of resources that you can explore with your students, a downloadable directory that has a PDF of each of these stories. And then on the website, we're going to show you in a little bit, Connor's going to show you some of the resources that we've developed on the website for choosing some of these unsung heroes because it can be a little overwhelming if you have the whole list, but in your classroom, you may want to focus just on STEAM heroes or just on wartime heroes or innovators or on social justice and activists. So you can work with that list in a number of different ways. Okay, and so as I mentioned, these stories come from the Lowell Milken Center Discovery Award. And in this next set of slides, I just wanted to show you some examples of some of these stories and how students have um, brought them to life through the visual arts. So one example is Irena Sendler, who was a social worker, and during World War II, she saved over 2,500 children from the Warsaw Ghetto. So she went into the ghetto multiple times, um, at her own life, risking her own life at her own peril, um, undercover to convince the um, families that she would take their children and smuggle the children out and find a home for them before they would be sent to the concentration camp. So she did that over and over and saved 2,500 children. She wrote their real identities, their Jewish names on slips of paper that she put in a jar that she buried under an apple tree, then tried to reunify those families after the war. So this is an amazing story. It's actually the story that was the sort of founding story that inspired Lowell Milken and one of our Milken Educator Award educators, Norm Kennard, to found the Lowell Milken Center to bring more of these stories to light. So her story is so amazing. And I want to show you an example in the next slide of how, two examples of how students, middle school student from grade 7 here, Irena's Jars of Hope, translated that by focusing on the tree and creating this amazing artwork where we see this kind of tree of life. She wrote the names of the surviving the surviving children on the roots and illuminated it with these jars that light up with batteries. And another artwork here in digital art from a 10th grader, Chloe Kim, that interpreted the story, Will You Swim? Because Irena's father told her if you see someone drowning, you need to jump in and save them, even if you can't swim. So these are two examples of how students have focused on different parts of the story and created these amazing works of art. And all of these are award winners. Chloe's work, Will You Swim, was actually the grand prize winner in 2022. So I wanted to mention too that the students, when they create the work of art, they need to write an impact statement as part of the project that discusses why they chose this hero, about the creative process, and the impact that they hope their art making will have. So here you'll see that we've pulled some of these quotes from the impact statement. So that's what the quote is here. So let's take a look at another quick example. Sylvia Mendez, a civil rights activist. Sylvia Mendez, who is actually still living as our living unsung hero, was instrumental in the desegregation of American schools, and her family brought a class action lawsuit in 1947, almost 10 years before Brown versus Board of Education in California. And so she was very instrumental in fighting for justice for equal access to quality education in California before the national desegregation. So Sylvia's story is one of those in that social justice category. And if we take a look at the next work of art, we can see how the student has been inspired by her portrait to create this amazing artwork. This is Zoe Spikerman from Hawaii when she was in grade 12 and has created this really beautiful work on paper that's mixed media. And as I mentioned, I don't think I mentioned, but actually all the artworks are in different media. So we've seen digital, multimedia, and this is another example of a multimedia. So students entering the competition can be doing their works in 2D or 3D and in various media, a range of various media. All right, so let's look at, I think we have one more example and kind of go quickly here. This is Muhammad al-Khwarizmi, who's the father of algebra. going back way into ancient times, a STEAM subject here, and he is known for, preserving algebraic equations. He wrote down these equations in a book that became known as algebra. And so I want to show you three examples on the next slide, put them together so that you can see how the one unsung hero, again, can be interpreted in different ways. So from our math, we have a pop-up book on the far left from a student in middle school that shows just, a portrait of Muhammad and then how his algebraic equations has, span the centuries through the pop-up pages of this book and get us to the algorithms that make possible systems like Google and the search engines that we use every day. And in the center, we have a beautiful work completing the square. We're actually going to hear from Moheb's teacher tonight, Rosie Dodson, who's on the call with us. So I'm going to have her share about that. And on the far right, this is a digital artwork, a portrait of Muhammad, and just an amazing digital work. So I wanted to show you three examples for the same hero. All right, so our competition is open now, and it's open through April 21st, 2026. So as I mentioned, students are working in 2D or 3D. They are creatively interpreting the stories of unsung heroes, looking at these individuals as role models, and a variety of different media and a variety of different creative expressions are welcome. The competition has been running, as I mentioned, since 2016. We've had thousands and thousands of students participate from around the world, over 41 countries around the world. And we have last year gave over $35,000 in prizes. So we're going to take a look at those prizes in just a moment. So here is a digital poster that you can download. I wanted to let you know that if you'd like postcards or posters for your classroom, we'd be happy to send those out to you. Just write us an email. Kate will put this in the chat, artifact@lilmilken.org, and just let us know the quantity, and we'd be happy to get you some posters and postcards for your classroom. You can also download the digital one. All right, and on the next slide, just a recap of how to participate. So students choose an unsung hero from the list, and as an educator, you can guide them on choice-based segments of that list. They want to be choosing someone that they feel particularly affinity with, whether it's character traits or actions or a specific discipline. Then there's rules and guidelines on our website for how to submit. Students will create a work of art and submit the artwork. And in creating the work of art, they also write the impact statement. So let's take a look at that. This is the main link to our website where you can see more about the rules and guidelines. And if you have questions, we can discuss some of those. But on the next slide, let's take a look at the impact statement. So the impact statement is 500 to 1,000 words. We ask 4 prompts, and these are the prompts that you'll see here. I have a couple of resources to help students with that. So this worksheet that you're looking at actually breaks down those prompts into sort of sub questions to help students kind of respond. And they can be working on this as they're working on their visual arts project and kind of going back and forth as part of the creative process. So they do have to submit the essay, and they can also share out in the essay what is the intended impact of their artwork? What meaning do they hope it will have, or do they aspirationally wish that others will get from looking at their artwork? And they don't have to do research, but if they've done some research, we ask for some research references. All right, and it's a juried competition, which means that we have a judging panel. Each year we bring in experts from the field, whether they're curators working in art museums. We have educators, art educators. We have people that are out in the field working in graphic design or museum administration. So they're on the judging panel, and we make this rubric available to you. This is also something that you can share with your students. 40% is looking at the creative interpretation of the Unsung Heroes story. 40% is sort of the aesthetic value, which includes like how well it's made, how the student has handled the materials, and brought that all together in the composition, and 20% on the impact paper. Right, and I think that I am going to, oh, one more thing before I turn it over to Kate to talk about the prizes, which is coming up next. I wanted to let you know that we have resources. These are all available on the website. You'll be getting these links. But we have a lesson plan that's just sort of a basic introduction to the Unsung Heroes. We have many different lesson plans through some of the online sessions that we've been running, and we'll share that with you a little bit later. But if you want to just starter lesson plan, this is a good one, Unsung Heroes Intro Lesson Plan. It kind of takes you through that process of choosing, writing the impact statement, deciding on the media, and doing some in-classroom critiques. We have an educator resource guide, which is a quick start that kind of gets you through all of the resources that we have. So a lot of these are turnkey. Submission guide, which when you're ready to get your students that want to participate in the competition, you can follow this guide. It takes you through how to submit using our online submittable platform. Students don't need to create an account that you're, as an educator, you can submit for your students under one email, but each submission needs its own record. So, so we give some guidelines on how to do that. Students will upload an image of their artwork and upload the impact statement. And all of that is April 21st is the deadline. So it's good to start a little earlier, and we can support you through the submissions on the submittable platform. And then we have this Artifact overview video. If you'd like to introduce your students to Artifact, you can play this video. We could also drop into your classroom if you'd like us to make a virtual 15, 20-minute visit or do a guided activity. Our team is here to do that. We would love to do that as well. Right, and so Kate is going to tell you a little bit more about the specific prizes that I've been mentioning. So we've got this graphic, and Kate, would you like to share out?
Yes, so I'm so excited to talk about the 2026 prize categories because in 2025 we awarded over $35,000 and presented 34 awards. So here are the prize categories for this year. We have our top awards, which includes a $6,000 grand prize, and all entries are eligible for this grand prize. We also have high school with 2 awards and middle school with 2 top awards. Next, we have the Unsung Hero Spotlight Prize, and this is for artworks that feature one of our underrepresented unsung heroes. They work specifically in wartime, civil rights, and STEAM. So they'll be from this list of heroes. And then we also have our Media Spotlight Prizes, and these are for sculpture, 3D, and large format works. And there are no size limits on artwork, so everything is welcome and accepted. And yeah, these are our prize categories. So moving on, next we have our 2024 awards highlight video. Connor, do you want to go next one? Awesome. So we're just going to play a quick video. In 2024, we awarded 19 prizes totaling over $25,000. So this is a look at the surprise award notification. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for participating in Artifact, creating these amazing artworks. I also have some very special news for you, which is that your project has been selected for the Middle School Second Place Award. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really hope it'll inspire people to pursue the things that interest them, even regardless of the discrimination they may face.
Your project, School Trip, to visit Dr. Helen Brooke-Taussig's portrait in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, has been selected for the Middle School Best in Show.
That's no surprise.
It's amazing. Really amazing. Great job.
Congratulations on winning this award, high school second place, for this outstanding artwork.
There's not many Asian representation in history, so I thought I could bring out her story.
So your project, A Woman Ahead of Her Time, has been selected for the High School Best in Show Award.
Oh my God!
Congratulations!
She inspired me, and I never heard of her before, but she truly, being the first Black African American cartoonist, I mean, she was just amazing, truly amazing.
Your project, Visions of Light, about unsung hero Carl Ernst von Baer, has been selected as a 2024 ARTEFFECT Grand Prize winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. He explored so many different branches of science, and he just wanted to branch out and seek all the knowledge that he could seek during his lifetime.
I'm just delighted to share this news that your project has been selected for the Spotlight Prize.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, congratulations.
Goodness, thank you.
Yay, congratulations. Yay, congratulations.
Congratulations. Wow. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hey.
We had more entries than ever before. It was very competitive. Your project has been selected for a Certificate of Excellence. Congratulations. Right, so exciting to see the students with their surprise award notifications. And we're delighted that tonight we actually have two students that are joining us. And so Connor is going to introduce them, and we're going to hear firsthand about their experiences participating in ARTEFFECT.
Yes, thank you, Tony. I'm so delighted that we have two students tonight that'll be joining us, and we're going to begin with April Truong, who is a Spotlight Award winner from 2025, who is now a college student in Southern California, and she's working on transferring to UCI Irvine for informatics. So we're so excited for her and incorporating visual arts into her major and career. So April, we'd love to welcome you to the ARTEFFECT Info session. We'd love to hear what it was like for you. How did you select your unsung hero?
So I selected my unsung heroes through the list of heroes who are usually underrepresented in the competition. And Dr. Isabella Abbott really stood out to me because of her work surrounding environmental science, essentially. She discovered over 200 different types of algae species, also known as limu in Hawaiian, and I was really surprised. I'd never heard of her before. And she was also one of the first female professors at Stanford to teach biology. And I was really so surprised because seaweed is really important environmentally. It not only acts as kind of like a keystone species, not really like a home, I guess, to a lot of species, and it helps sequester carbon dioxide, which helps create climate change. And so not knowing about her just felt really strange to me because of how powerful her work is.
Yeah, that's perfect. And thank you so much for sharing about choosing this ethnobotanist and helping share out her story and amazing research. Actually, could you tell us a little bit about what it was like to create your digital artwork and being able to share her story out?
Yeah, it was really important for me to illustrate her relationship between the ocean and her home, which she had lived in from when she was born to the end of her life. And which is why for this piece, I chose to incorporate cool colors like greens and blues that represent the ocean. And I also wanted to make sure that I included limu, otherwise known as algae slash seaweed, because of her work, discovering over 200 different types of species, and also wanted to include fish that are in Hawaii and basically live off of these different types of species. Because really, it's about life, right? Her work supports not only the environment, such as the fish, but also ourselves. And she actually helped create a ethnobotany class, I believe, at the University of Hawaii, which helps combine not only, the knowledge and biology of it, but also the cultural significance. Um, and so I wanted to make sure that the limu kind of blended into her face because there's just this bond that you can't separate from her and her work. Um, and actually, the red and purple emu, she did not actually discover herself, but her work was very important to those who came after her. And in fact, the red lemur species, seen like right in her hair, was named after her because of her significance.
Wow, that's so incredible, April. Thank you so much. It's so evident in your artwork that we're able to see the generational impact that Isabella Abbott has had on her culture and on the field at large for ethnobotany. So thank you for this incredible artwork.
Mhm.
Could you share a little bit about what it was like to win the Spotlight Award this last year?
It was very exciting and meaningful for me because I kind of related to her in a little, some sort of way. Like her curiosity is basically what drove her, and it's kind of what drives me to continue art. So being able to win an award based off my art and kind of my own experience, which is really meaningful to me.
Yes, well, we were so excited to award you this Spotlight Award this last year, and thank you again for sharing your experience with us today. And now we're going to have our second student have a chance to speak with us, which is Gina, who was actually our grand prize winner from 2025. So, Gina, we're so happy to have you here. You're still a 12th grader, I think, right, up in Seattle. So,
Yeah.
could you share with us what it was like for you to select your unsung hero?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here today to share about my experience of participate our Artifact Unsung Hero competition last year. Actually, my experience is based on I chose my unsung hero James Brentwood because based on my personal experience, like in last summer in 2024, I guess, like near a fried chicken restaurant in downtown Seattle, like I saw a sudden fire, and that's just the first time I really experienced fire so closely, and also the first time I seriously thought about who is uh who is helping us from flame, like who established the fire protection system we are like consumed wear a costume today. So with that question in mind, I heard about the artifact competition from one of my friend, which is I know it's a competition like encourage high school student and middle school student to pay tribute to unknown heroes through visual art. And then I on the official website list, I saw names James Braidwood. He was Scottish firefighter in 19th centuries, also known as like the father of the modern firefighting, and he contributed a lot to the firefighter system. And shortly after I discovered this unsung hero and getting to know more about that, I heard a really sad news from like Los Angeles fire spread last winter, and I'm really sorry to hear about that news. And I realized like more deeply, like firefighter and the fire protection system exists to allow like countless people to return home safely, while like people like James Brentwood, who laid the foundations, are really like remembered by the public. So I decided to tell his story with my brush through the art. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing why you chose that unsung hero. And it was very timely, like you said last year, from your personal experience and the news that's happening in Los Angeles. Could you share about what it was like to create your artwork about James Braidwood and how you created this piece?
Yeah, like my creative process is not really easy. Like I spent a lot of time on researching like his life because he's from 19th centuries and only few pictures, not pictures, like drawing about him. And there's a sculpture in England about him, and I did research about the firefighter suit and the equipment, like the fire what I called again? The car, the equipment he created. There's not much picture, so I combine my imagination and the words and few pictures together to create this piece, and then finally completed this acrylic painting, like title "Duty Among Blades." Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I think the visual research you put into this piece was evident, which is part of and tied with this dynamic artwork is part of why we awarded you the grand prize. So could you tell us what it was like to win the grand prize this last year?
Oh my God, I was so surprised and so shocked and so grateful when I like know the news through the Zoom meeting. This is for me, this is not just a word, but also a recognition of my research, my thinking and expression. Like it made me understand, like even as a student, I don't have any famous my thought and my ideas can be seen, and also we can discover and like to those who are silently change our world, like to our community and through my own way, like through art, which is the major or field I really love. So yeah, it's really good opportunity for me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's so wonderful to hear. And we were so excited about your artwork and so excited to give you this award. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Thank you, April, once again. And I'm going to turn it back to Tony.
Thank you, Gina and April. Big round of applause for our students. Really appreciate hearing firsthand about the experience and these amazing artworks. Just so full of deep detail and thought. And so just so wonderful to hear from you and nice to see you again. So in this next segment, we're actually going to hear from some of our participating educators, and we have 3 educators joining us tonight. First up is Rosie Dodson, and Rosie is a visual art teacher joining from Savannah Art Academy. Rosie was also one of our ambassadors last year, and has been participating in ARTEFFECT, and is going to talk to us about how she works with her high school students, her advanced students with this project. And Rosie, I would like to introduce you and have you take it away.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me on tonight. All right. So yes, I teach at Savannah Art Academy, and I've actually been doing this project with my students off and on since I think 2017. So about a year after it started. So I did it for a few years in Illinois, then I moved and then had a little hiatus. And then a couple years ago, started back up again. Last year was an ambassador, and then this year just kind of back at it. Actually, my class just started with this project last week. So we're really like getting into the nitty gritties with it right now. So what I use a lot of the resources. So back in 2017, when I started, there was only a few resources. Now there is a plethora of resources to pick from. So I highly recommend that you go through and look at the resources available on the website, pick and choose what you want to do based on your class, and go from there and kind of like trial and error, like what works, what doesn't, and trying to change things up to make it your own. So I start with this scanning describing activity from ARTEFFECT. I really try to get my students to focus on narrative. And then after we do kind of a VTS, a visual thinking strategy session with each piece, I do give then the students some background so they can see how their ideas align with the artist's intention. So on the background information that I found for the pieces, I try to find it as much as possible from the artist's point of view, them speaking about their own work. So I would give them a blurb of information then from the artist directly, so they can see how they were able to still pick up on those visual cues to start thinking about how they can show narrative in their own pieces. After that, I introduced the Unsung Heroes, and I showed the students around the site on our learning management system. I also put the directory, and I have the site link, so I have multiple ways that they can get to it. I do highly recommend that they look into categories that they're interested in to start with. That's a big thing that I try to push, that find somebody you really connect with, because for us, this is one of our longest units that we have in the class. So they're going to be working very in depth on this for a good expansive time. So I want them to find somebody that they can really like latch into and feel passionate about as they work. So after that, the students create a little presentation with slides for their top 3 choices. So it's like a 1, 2, 3. They have to include several pictures, 2 to 3 pictures that could possibly use as source references that they could combine together for an imagery, and then 3 interesting facts from the research that they've done. And then they present them to each other. And then the goal is that hopefully everybody picks somebody different for their top choice, which is what I've had the last 2 years, which is great. But if you have 2 people that pick the same person as their top choice, you have to figure out how you're going to have like a tie break and who's going to get the top choice and who has to pick choice 2. But what I basically do is they present to each other, and then I can really tell if they're passionate about the people that they picked. And it also gets the whole group going with some idea generation. So they're not by themselves trying to figure out like what they're going to create their artwork about. Then everybody starts brainstorming. I am doing this in a drawing 3 class. So it's only my seniors. They're generally people I've had in class for a year or 2 already. And they're really comfortable discussing things with each other. So there's not a lot of hesitation there. So after their top 3 heroes have been chosen, they complete the Unsung Heroes Journey worksheet from the website. And this year I started having them do the brain dump worksheet as well. And that one is a worksheet with a bunch of little bubbles on it that I tried to get them to fill every bubble. That was their goal. Some achieved that, some didn't, but they all tried to get really close. And they could write words down. I told them to use their worksheet as like references, or like, what are those parts of the narrative you want to show? What are the parts of the person's character that you really want to highlight in your work? What is some imagery? And then I also had them like brain dump things like materials, compositional strategies, color palettes, doing material testing. So it was like some things were drawn, some things were written, some things were color swatched. So it's kind of a little bit of all over the place. And this is my first year doing that. And my hope is like the 2 combination sources with their slides will give them more variety when they start working on their thumbnails. So that's where they're kind of at right now in my process, is they're working on their thumbnail sketches and doing additional research and starting to discuss with me and the group what their ideas are. So every other class, we meet every other day. So every couple of classes, I tend to have them do kind of a share out session, whether it's like a work in process critique, or if it's just kind of like everybody's holding up their sketchbook and going over their ideas and just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. So we try to do a lot of peer feedback throughout the whole process in all of my classes. So this is kind of where we're at right now. Okay, if I can have you go to the next slide. All right, after that point, and they have a more narrowed down, this is what I'm going to create. These are the materials I'm going to use. I let them use any material in any size. This year, I'm really trying to get them to think out of the box more and not just think canvas and paper. So I have somebody who's thinking like shadow box, drawings, ceramic pieces he's going to create. I mean, he's kind of like really thinking out of the box. I have somebody else who's going to work on like a record. So I'm really thinking about like synthesis with materials, because I also teach AP. Synthesis is a big thing. So I have a lot more kids that are thinking outside the box for material choice and how it relates to the narrative. So again, during the process, we keep going back to those peer in-process critiques. And we do them different ways. I do ones with sticky notes where they like write each other like little like, this is what's going well. There's a question. This is what I think you should improve, and kind of stick it on each other's work or each other's sketchbooks. We have like reflection on them, like personal self-reflection type of things. Sometimes they're verbal. Sometimes they're just like kind of the end of class, closing the activity. At the end, we'll have like a written and a verbal critique. And then after they've completed their artwork, I have them write the impact statement. So I have them do it at the end rather than during the process, just because I do make them keep everything. My kids have a drawer per kid. So they keep all their stuff in there so they can pull everything back out. And really, like, it's part of the reflection process in my class is for them to write the impact statement. So we write it in class. I discuss it with them. We review it before we start doing any of the project upload and the submission for the impact statement. But then that's the last bit of it is getting it all submitted, and then it's off to the nethers, and then the things are just are being exhibited around school. So these are a couple of my students that won some certificates of excellence 2 years ago. So Kelly Coleman, she did a monotype etching. So she did hers on a plexiglass plate, and she really wanted to focus on the importance of Eugenia finding these different shark species and documenting them, and then the species that was named after her. And Moab, he was really connected because he was Arabic and he actually could like read and write in the language. So he incorporated that into his composition as well. Very interested. Both of them were very interested in like STEAM, and they're actually both going to school together for engineering in town. So they're both like continuing on this kind of STEAM sort of path. And both their pieces are up in the new museum in Washington, D.C., which is super exciting.
Hooray! Congratulations again, Rosie, for guiding these students through these amazing artworks that, yeah, they're on display at our new exhibition in Washington, D.C. And Kate is going to post a link for everyone to check that out. But I really appreciate, Rosie, how you have guided us through a sort of an advanced integration of this lesson plan with your advanced students, with the choice-based, working with the critique, the guided looking, that the scanning and describe at the beginning is important as the first step. And what I also wanted to point out and what you shared is that you've taken bits and pieces from our various resources and put them together into a system that works in your classroom. And so that is also just a nice modeling of how to, make it work in your learner-centered specific context. So really appreciate that. And thank you for joining us, and congratulations. And so excited to see you here. So
Nice
next,
seeing you too.
thank you. Yeah, next up we have our second educator joining us this evening, Archana Kamani, who's joining us from the Plainfield Academy for the Arts and Advanced Studies in Plainfield, New Jersey. And Archana was also an ambassador in last year's year 2 cohort. So welcome.
Thank you so much, and giving me this opportunity to share my experience with you all. Yes, I teach a secondary level, and this was my capstone project last year as an ambassador. This is my third year working with Unsung Heroes in my classroom, and I find that this is really an eye-opening project for all my students throughout all these years. Last year, the lesson took place in 3 phases in my classroom. We started with laying the foundation with lots of brainstorming and research. Students pick their heroes based on the choices, how they can connect, and they started with the brainstorming sessions, and they kind of had the group discussions. I also collaborated with my history teachers in the school, so they also kind of had the similar lessons in their classrooms. So the students got to know like 2 different point of view while researching this hero, and I think that added definitely another layer to this project. We then talked about a lot of symbolism and drawing the composition in my classroom, depicting the hero literally along with using a lot of symbolism was one of the traits that I wanted all my students to explore and go that route. So it was a bit struggle for some of my students, but we kind of got through the sessions with a lot of group discussions. After that, we kind of built on that foundation where students chose their medium. And this was the fun part because all my students selected like different mediums. Some drew, some painted, a few decided to sculpt using air dry clay, some used plaster. And recycled materials. So it was like materials all over. So we worked on like a lot of different things at once. And so the form, the structure, the armature building, everything was going at the same time in the same classroom. And that was a fun thing to see that process and how all of the students were involved in their own art making. Though the process was different, we were able to connect with a lot of progress critiques and a lot of common points that we were able to discuss, how are we adding emotions to this piece, or how are we adding the color choices and lot of other aspects. If you see in this slide, the image on the left shows all the sketching and compositional stage versus the center images. The top image shows a student doing hands-on air dry clay, making a bust of the hero. Bottoms, the student is drawing. And the flyer on the right side, we were at the end of the school year, was able to display all of these unsung hero projects in the annual art show where we invited the entire community, the school, and everyone to celebrate kind of this big success. Some of the tips, I would say that making mini art stations with different materials in the room really helped with the organization when all students worked on different materials. I had like the drawing session, painting session, and sculpting and all different places. So it was kind of very helpful to keeping things in place. Breaking down the lesson in mini chunks definitely helped me to evaluate the process and making sure that all the students are on task or they are not falling behind. The slide that you see, Charlize, she won the Certificate of Excellence with her project depicting Cheyenne Webb and the Bloody Sunday. And this was a charcoal piece on paper, and she thoroughly depicted her with that emotional state, and that was really back and forth, and this piece really got benefited with the critique process and adding the contrast and things like that. We added the I mean, she was actually able to depict the whole scene in what she imagined, and she kind of researched about this. So I thought the whole lesson was really an eye opener to my classroom. I think this project reminded us, all of us, that art isn't just about the technique, but it's about empathy, storytelling, and most of all, making an impact. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Archana, for sharing. And I haven't seen this work of art since for a while, and so just delighted to bring it up with your student here who put this amazing interpretation from Cheyenne Webb from the child's perspective. And I really want to thank you for guiding the students through the process that you've shared with us, laying the foundation, building the foundation, exploring all the different materials, how you can enhance the visual impact, and take it to the next level from those initial sketches by adding in, the emotions. You also talked about problem solving. And I remember you talking about like unexpected inspirations that just come up as part of the process, and you're being able to allow for that just also speaks to your strengths as an educator. So thank you for all of that, and congratulations on this work of art again, and the sense of pride that you mentioned is very important through this project. So for carrying the students and guiding them through this project. So wonderful to hear from you. And we have time for one more. We're just coming down to the last 10 minutes, but we're going to hear from one more educator. I'm delighted to introduce Jennifer Kay Rivera, who's also an ambassador from last year. And Jennifer is joining us from Sterling Heights, Michigan. So Jennifer, welcome.
Hello there. Thank you for having me tonight. And really cool to hear Gina and April like literally tearing up hearing you explain this, because like that's what I felt with my kids doing this. So thank you for sharing your experience. So with my students, I have a very diverse population of English language learners and also immigrants and some refugees. So I was trying to think about how I could teach this to them, because like they get overwhelmed really quickly when they like just too much to read. I don't know where to start. And so how could I break down this process? So as an ambassador, like we had to do different components of this. So part of the thing that I created was this worksheet, which I'm sharing for you right now in the chat, a worksheet on how to help my students think through how to start and break down these steps in a scaffolding that was not going to be overwhelming to them, that they weren't just going to quit on me. So the two students featured on the right are like filling out their planner, and we have laptops at our school and the kids had cell phones, but I also printed binders for kids who just being on a phone was not a good idea. Also, reading a biography that's like, in a 2x4 is very tiny. So having the pages to flip through was a lot faster. And also help for kids who didn't have technology or when the internet was deciding to crash. And also my special ed students, it was just a lot more manageable for them to be able to read and see the picture and help them connect with the person's face versus just like reading thousands of words, because that document of all the profiles is very long. So those are some examples of them sketching out. And we started by going through what is a hero and like what are things that heroes do, so that they had a better understanding of like how to pick one. So the pictures here are the worksheet that I developed on the link. And this is partly something I found from Crayola's thinking sheets combined with a biography and the artist trading cards that Artifact has in their resources. And so I felt like that breaking it down to this coloring page really could help them see the essentials of the picture. And they had to read Irina's story and then break it down, like what are 4 main images that are coming to mind from this very simplified version of the story, which is probably around 3rd grade level. So like everyone was able to like have a good entry point that wasn't too advanced. So the top is a sketch from a student that was more advanced, and the bottom is a sketch from a student that's cognitive impaired. My school hosts a program with that, and I have a lot of students from there. So when I was on this call last year, people were asking, well, what about my special ed students? They can do this. So I just want to give encouragement that I had great artwork from them, and they were very invested in it too. Next slide. So this is the worksheet the kids are going through the binder, and there's 3. We have to have like something to start from. If they just pick one, that's not enough. They didn't put enough thought into it. But picking 3 different heroes, and then there's space on the right side of that picture on the worksheet to sketch. So I wanted them to start thinking about how would they visualize this in their like research. And then the back side of the worksheet, I had a different one per class, and I'm sending those right now. The materials were listed, so drawing and painting materials that were available. They could suggest things of their own, 3D materials that were available, and then art foundations. And similar to what Archana said, I had materials available on a table. So like for 3D, they could touch and see and manipulate, like, okay, what does this do? I have not heard of this material, and I can go look at it and see how I can use that. So here's a student's sketch, and like her inspiration, she's a student that's a Ukrainian speaker, and so she really connected with this piece and this particular news reporter, and how they represented the stories and what that story might look like that he was like walking by and taking notes on. And this is part of the display that I did at my school, which I would highly encourage everyone, no matter if you're an ambassador or not, to please put up these works of the students. And I printed off their statements with it. I had people spend a lot of time reading the statements and were like, kids wrote this, high school kids wrote this. They were just blown away. These are a couple works of my students. The one on the right was a kid, did nothing in class, did nothing, could not get him to stay awake. This project, he was invested and he sketched out this lady and he's like, oh, I can use my drawing style and create this lady in my picture. Oh, okay. He was hooked. He was awake every day. He was working. All the kids wanted to see what he was making. And it was just amazing. And like the other two are students that were in my AP class. So, I mean, the whole across the board, like everyone could contribute in this and find something they loved in the project. Here's some examples of my size students, moderately cognitive impaired. The one fell in love with this one particular nun. This happened to be a Catholic student, and so that was something she knew from her experience. And she just created all these pictures that she envisioned this nun, how the nun was helping these little babies. And my other student fell in love with the hero that was an astronaut. The name is not coming to me, but she could tell me everything about the astronaut woman and the story. And so she had such a great time painting out this, even though this is done at a very like elementary level. She was in my school competition, but I did not enter her piece, but they still had the same experience as everyone who was submitting work for the competition. And then this is my student who was a finalist, which was really cool. I didn't know that the student had some prior knowledge with this particular hero, and she learned about this hero actually in her band class. So another cool component is connecting these stories that they might have learned from other courses and then further adding into this knowledge. So she learned about this artist in band class, and I actually got to tell her while she was in band class wearing her instrument, hey, you're a finalist. So the whole band was cheering for her, and the teacher's like, wait, you learned that from me? Wow, this is amazing. And so digital piece showing the pen and a bullet, because this artist was or this military man was shot, but he was a composer. So it was really neat for students to see connecting to something of their personal interest or finding somebody completely different than their background and being like, this person made my life possible. It was just super overwhelming, but also amazing to have these great connections and stories. And my students at the end of the semester said this was their favorite project because they really found they connected with the hero. And this is somebody they're not ever going to meet. I mean, just to imagine that you could have such a strong connection and you'll never know this person is incredible, considering how the kids in this day and age really connect with just live humans. So thank you so much. I don't know if I have any other slides on there, but thank you for the opportunity to share.
No, that's your last slide. Thank you for going through that. And Jennifer, I just can't underscore how wonderful it is to hear from you because you've presented us with so much in there,
Yeah.
which is the diversity of how this lesson can work with students at all different abilities and skill levels, and how the teaching and learning is still there within the exercise and the project itself. And we often say that, creating an artifact project is an accomplishment unto itself.
Yes, it really is.
Whether the students are going to go into the competition or not, and whether they are going to win a prize or not, it's really the bigger teaching and learning, the message about these impactful stories and what the students are really getting from that. And so you've really exemplified that in a really nice way with your slides. And it's also nice that you made the point about the cross-disciplinary, the looking at arts, but honoring someone in, the music field. And so really, thank you for sharing your resources as well. So perfect timing. We're just at 5:02 and we're at the end of our presentation. I want to let everyone know that we're going to be following up with the recording of this session. You're going to get a link with this PowerPoint, and we're going to include a slide that has all of the references listed there for you. Connor's pulled it up. So you'll have everything in one nice place. We're also available at any time, artifact@lowmilken.org. As you review this and want to reach out, our team would be happy to send you materials, hop on a phone call or follow up, visit your classroom. So, and the competition is closing April 21st. So thank you again to all of our speakers that joined us this evening, to our April and Gina, and to Rosie and Archana and Jennifer. Thank you to all of the ambassadors who joined far and wide and staying with us through this program. To my MFF colleagues, I see Jennifer on the call, and to everyone who's joining us far and wide, someone from as far as South Asia. So awesome. We look forward to seeing the products of your classroom on April 21st, and be in touch if you need to any support before that. So we're going to unmute and say a collective goodbye, and thank you again to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Put a call in.
Bye, everyone.
Happy everyone. Oh,
Bye.
Michelle.
Congratulations.
Bye.